You have almost certainly seen this image. It's been reposted millions of times in a dozen languages for over a decade. And not one person on the internet can prove who posted it first. Every time you try to find the original, you hit the same wall. Each copy just points to an older copy, which points to an older copy, which points to a dead link. The trail doesn't end at a source, it just dissolves. Now, you could call that a fun piece of trivia. Except this is how the internet remembers almost everything. If we can't trace one famous picture, what does that say about all the rest? So I spent weeks doing what thousands of people had already failed to do. I tried to follow this single image all the way back to the first upload. And almost immediately, I found something that shouldn't be possible. The oldest surviving versions don't agree with each other. They aren't copies of one upload. They contradict each other, like they came from different sources entirely. To understand why, you have to know how you actually trace an image. First, reverse search. You let the machines find every visible copy. Then metadata, the hidden data a file quietly carries about itself. Then compression. Every time an image is resaved, it scars in a specific way. Stack all of that together, and a real original usually rises to the top. This one refused to. The metadata had been stripped from almost every copy. The few files that kept it had dates that flatly disagreed. One copy was stamped years before the website it lived on even existed. Another was cropped, but cropped in a way that only works if a larger image already existed. A third carried a watermark fragment from a community that swore it wasn't theirs. Every fingerprint that should have pointed home pointed somewhere different. So which is it? There are really only 4 explanations. 1. There was a single original, and we simply lost the first post. 2. It was never one image. It was a composite, stitched from pieces. 3. Rival communities each forged their own original to claim it. 4. And this is the strange one. It predates the platforms it's famous on. Each theory explained some of the evidence. None of them explained all of it. To know which was even possible, I had to look at how images normally travel. On the early internet, pictures moved by hand, saved, re-uploaded, emailed, burned to disks. There was no central record. Origins were lost constantly, and nobody noticed. This isn't even the first image to do this. It's happened before, to famous photos. When a source lives on a server that dies, the truth dies with it. And that's exactly where the human part of this gets loud. Because for years, people have been hunting this image together. There are wikis, spreadsheets, timelines built by strangers who never met. 2 different communities each insist it started with them, and each has proof. One thread even found the original poster, until it turned out he was lying. And then, buried in a dead archive, someone found a version nobody remembered. It was older than every copy we'd been arguing about. And it was different. The famous image, the one you've seen 100 times, was the edit. We had all been hunting the origin of a picture that was already a copy. Sit with that for a second, because it breaks everything. The legend everyone shares, the dates, the story, the meaning, was attached to the wrong picture. Every first upload anyone ever found was downstream of something older and quieter. The real image hadn't gone viral. It had gone the opposite direction, backwards, into the dark. Which raised a worse question. Where did the older one come from? And here, the trail does something I didn't expect. It leaves the internet. The oldest version carried the scars of a scan, not a screenshot. It had been a physical print before it was ever a file. Which means the real source was sitting in a drawer or a defunct archive years before any of this. And whoever first scanned it never said a single word. Go back through all of it now, and every clue reads differently. The stripped metadata wasn't decay. Someone removed it. The impossible early date wasn't a glitch. It was the fingerprint of the scan. The crop that implied a bigger picture? There was a bigger picture. We finally had it. The contradictions were never noise. They were the edges of an edit nobody admitted to. And when you line the old version up against the famous one, you can see exactly what was removed. The crop didn't just tighten the frame, it deleted something. In the corner of the original, cropped out of every copy since, was a detail that identified the source. A caption, a timestamp, enough to trace it home. Someone cropped it out on purpose. The first edit wasn't artistic, it was erasure. Whoever made the famous version didn't want anyone to find where it came from. And for over a decade, it worked. So, where did this image actually come from? Here's the most honest answer the evidence allows. It began as a physical print, scanned and uploaded quietly, somewhere we can no longer reach. Someone cropped away the one detail that identified it, and that cropped version is the one that spread. The true first upload almost certainly sat on a server that no longer exists. Which means the literal first post is, in all likelihood, gone for good. But notice what we actually found instead. We found the shape of how an internet myth hardens. Not from one clean lie, but from 1,000 almost true memories pointing different ways. Everyone who swore they saw the original wasn't lying. They saw a copy and trusted it. The certainty was real. The memory was real. The source was never there. And that's the uncomfortable part. This isn't rare. It's the default. We think of the internet as a place that never forgets. But it doesn't really remember things. It remembers copies of things. And a copy, with enough confidence behind it, can quietly replace the truth. You have seen this image 100 times. You have never once seen the truth of it. The internet doesn't just lose files, it loses certainty. The image stopped being the mystery a long time ago. The search, the way we all remembered something that was never there, that was the real story. So before you share the next original anything, ask who cropped it and why. There's a sound file with the exact same problem, the same impossible trail, a stranger ending. Tell me the clue that convinced you, and tell me which artifact I should trace next. The internet doesn't just lose files, it loses certainty. If you made it to the end of this one, subscribe. I trace a new artifact every week, and the short version of this mystery is linked right here.